That day was like the end of the world. Everyone is trying to escape.
All I worry about is that we remain alive.
Because okay, you heard this?
Zaina, just run quickly and don't stopping and don't looking behind you no matter what happens.
There is no life in Gaza now.
Will this be the last time I see them?
A dream or a movie.
He saw me returning with the eggs.
This could be our final opportunity to survive.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm Naya from Gaza. I have two girls and a boy. Zaina is 16 years old, Salma is 12, and Yusuf is 8. I work as a civil engineer, and my husband is a computer specialist. Prior to the war in Gaza, we lived a peaceful and simple life. We could provide a good life for our children. I spent all of my time caring for them and training them to be always in the top of their classes. Not only that, but I was interested to discover and develop their talents and improve their skills in a variety of fields such as design, coding, and languages, as well as in terms shaping their personalities, increasing their self-confidence, and speaking in public. My daughter Zena would like to tell you our story.
On Saturday, 7th of October, exactly at 6:20 a.m., everything changed. Me and my siblings were getting ready for school at that time. Suddenly, we heard explosions and bombing. To be honest, we had no idea what was going on. At that moment, I realized that something not good was going to happen to us. We stayed at home for several days. The house was swaying left and right and shaking strongly. My mom gathered us near the front door away from the windows, and we spent all of our time there, as well as sleeping in a little small place. All of us woke up crying and screaming in fear with each pumping. Mom was hugging us and she said we would be fine, although I wasn't sure we would be okay. After 4 days, we decided to move to my grandpa's house. We spent there one night and it wasn't better at all. We were surrounded by bombings and explosions that were getting closer and closer. In the morning, we decided to come back to our home. Actually, we had no idea where to go or where to find a safe place for us. Later, we know that all citizens of Gaza City must leave immediately to the south of Gaza Strip because okay, you heard this? There's bombing around us now. Okay, it's okay. Because the northern region was considered as a conflict zone. We quickly gathered some basic necessary things and put it in our school bags. Under the stress, honestly, we didn't know what to take and what to leave. We didn't know how long will we stay out of our house and where would we go? Well, will we return to our house and our memories, or will this be our final farewell? I asked Mom to take some of my personal things that means a lot to me. Everything that remind me of my friends at school, my certifications, my lovely clothes, my journaling tools, and my small robot that I made. But she said no, you can't. We shouldn't bring too many things because we don't know where we will go or we may need to walk distance on food, and I understood that.
In fact, this made them very upset because they had to leave behind their personal belongings that they love. But my only concern at that time was saving my family. All I worry about is that we remain alive. My husband made several calls for hours looking for a car to take us to the south, but he couldn't provide that.
That day was like the end of the world. Everyone is trying to escape. The streets are extremely busy. As the evening arrived, the stress increased. So at the end, I just cried. I couldn't spend another night here under any condition. And this could be our final opportunity to survive. In this moment, Mom called her mother and brothers who had been moved to the south a few days ago. Fortunately, My uncle was coming back to the north in his car to get some of his own things. We arranged our affairs in a very small space in his car, but my dad stayed there, hoping to find another method to get him and joined us. Drive from our home to the south usually takes about 30 minutes, but that day we spent about 3 hours on the road due to the traffic jam. The street was full with people, hundreds or thousands of displaced people, cars full of people, some of them climbing onto the backs of the cars, trucks full of children and women, hundreds of women and children travel on foot, dragging their bags. I can't explain the view at all. It seemed like, I don't know, a dream or a movie. Finally, we arrived to our cousin's home. It was completely full with displaced people, my grandma, uncles, their children, family members, friends, and others. We could only locate a very small place to sleep. We didn't have enough blankets or bedding. I slept on the floor without a mattress. During the war, conditions are extremely poor. There isn't enough water to use. We stayed a long time without showering. We must wait a long time before we can use the bathroom. Of course, there is no electricity, internet, or cooking gas, and we hardly offer clean drinking water. We must travel a long distance to arrive a place with internet and electricity to charge our phones. In short, there is no basic necessities of life in Gaza. Actually, there is no life in Gaza now. There are some of canned food. Even these cans are not always available, and if you found it, you are so lucky. The costs are really expensive. Sometimes tens of times of the usual cost.
We are no longer able to offer the necessities because we lost our income since the beginning of the war.
Actually, we were willing to endure all of the suffering in order to find safety. But unfortunately, although we moved to the south as a safe area, but it wasn't so because we are exposed to daily bombing. Every day we were attacked with rockets. Explosions happen all around us and very close to us. We fortunately escaped death several times. Several fragments and bricks fell on us while we were inside the house. Every night we wake up due to the noises of planes, missiles, and rockets. Every night we believe it's our last night.
At the first week of December, we woke up at midnight due to neighbors' screams, warning and climbing that there was a threat to bomb the house next to where we live. At the time, I felt as if time had stopped. In fact, my heart had stopped. I could no longer breathe. I couldn't see or hear others around me. We need to get out of there as soon as possible. We have to get out of this place within, I don't know, maybe within a minute, the place will be bombed. Within seconds, many questions raced through my mind while I screamed of my children to wake up. Will be able to get out on time? Will this be the last time I see them? Who will remain alive and who will die? Where are we going? It was really cold. Every second may be the difference between life and death. I asked Zain and Salma to hurry down before me. I clutched Yusuf's hand. He was screaming so hard, but I didn't have time to comfort him. I even forget my phone, which was right next to me. This happens amid screams and tears of children. Everyone was calling and screaming. Nobody understood anything. I rapidly walked down with Yusuf. There I found my daughters. I couldn't find my husband among the crowd. Also, my mother was standing at the entrance. She was unable to walk in the dark. Here, I stopped for a moment. Should I run with my children and leave my mother to care for herself? Or should I wait to hold my mother and risk endangering my children? Really no time to think. Within seconds, I made my decision. I asked my daughter Zena to hold Yusuf and Salma's hand and run away. Run away alone without me. I told her, Zena, run to, I'm not sure where. Zena, just run quickly and don't stopping and don't looking behind you no matter what happens. Please, be safe for me. They had moved away and I stayed with mom and helped her to work. We went slowly away, unsure if we would be able to leave in time. I was very worried about my children while they were alone in the darkness, fear, cold, and pumping. It was very difficult moments. After we had located a suitable distance away, I left my mom and hurried to find my children. I found them at the end of the street, screaming and crying in terror and cold. They believed they had lost me. I then tried to comfort them that we had moved away from danger. We okay, mom. Everything is okay. Minutes later, the ground rocked with a powerful explosion. A big explosion. At the time, I felt as if my heart has exploded from the extreme pressure. Strong pressure followed by a suction of air as if sucking out your soul. It was very scary. The explosion caused fragments to fall down on us from all directions. Did we survive? Yes, we survived. I was very happy. We survived. But does this mean that the house sheltered us has been destroyed? Where shall we go? We didn't even take the little things we carried from our house. They remained there. We now literally have nothing. Some men ran back to the explosion site to evaluate the situation. One of them returned to us and said, "The house is no longer fit for living." Oh my God. We all hurried back to see what was remained. Everything was totally destroyed. But we had no other place to go. Where could we go? We are forced to stay here. Yes, we are forced to stay at the destroyed house and live here. We have no choice. We spent several days and weeks repairing, restoring, cleaning, and removing rubbles to defend ourselves from the cold. We replaced the windows, doors, and missing pieces of the walls with plastic sheets. We tried to repair the water and sewage networks that were completely destroyed. We returned to live in the same place. Yes, destroyed place. Because, as said before, we had no other option. This is only one of many things that happened with us during the war.
Houses around us were bombed multiple times. The last one was less than 10 meters away. Following the explosion, we found bodies and body part of children and women thrown into the street. I can't explain this, but in that day, Mom was struck in her head that day, but she was able to pass. I could have lost my family at any time. Every night, all I want is to wake up and find my family good. And when I think about return to my home in Gaza, I'm not sure if my home still exists. We know that Israeli tanks were in front of our home. What do I return to in Gaza? There's nothing left in Gaza.
Our houses, our jobs, our children's schools, all gone in this terrible war. So, we urgently need support today. We need support to provide our food. We require assistance in rebuilding our life after losing everything we own. Every person with humanity must assist save thousands of Palestinians from this war.
Hand to hand to get me and my family out of this war and live in peace. Free Palestine!